Hello everybody, welcome to Catherine Sews. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm trying not to move too much because this leather jacket is so noisy. I'm gonna try and fix that, but I thrifted this leather jacket. It cost me $60 secondhand, which I thought was a really great price for a leather jacket, and it's beautiful and it is real leather, but it's crazy noisy because I think the leather hasn't been conditioned for a long time, and I'll show you what I'm going to try for that. I love the look of it, but I think it's just too long. I think it would look so much better if it was 3 to 4 inches shorter. Now, all of this might seem a bit daunting, like dealing with that crazy creakiness might seem impossible, and maybe it is, I don't know yet, but I'm gonna try. But shortening a leather jacket also is pretty intimidating, but I honestly don't think it's gonna be that bad. So I purchased 2 things for this project. The first one is Leather Honey, which is a leather conditioner, and it doesn't use any animal products, which I know it's sort of ironic that I would care about that when it's leather, but I don't want to use something like mink oil. Like, I wouldn't buy a mink coat for all those reasons, but when you're buying it secondhand, you're sort of distancing yourself from the original problem, but I still wouldn't buy a mink coat. So why would I buy mink oil? And this one is supposed to be actually better for leather than mink oil is. It's non-toxic. It doesn't have any chemicals that can harm the leather. It's supposed to be really good. So I'm going to try it out. It's also, another reason I chose this one is that it says that it doesn't alter the color, and mink oil can darken leather. And of course, I don't want anything that's going to change the color of this. I just want to soften the leather so I get rid of the squeak. The other thing that I bought that you use when you're hemming leather is rubber cement. You actually don't sew the hem of leather. You glue it and kind of pound it with a soft rubber mallet. So rubber cement is the glue that you use on leather. So there's actually not that much sewing that I'll be doing on this, mainly just the lining. This jacket, I'm kind of learning something from the way they finished the bottom edge of this jacket. I like how it was put together in the first place. And isn't that one of the fun parts about thrifting and upcycling, is you kind of get inside a garment and you can quite often learn something about the construction of that garment. But because this one is a square corner at the bottom instead of a curved bottom, it's going to be so much easier. Like that curve, I would be hesitant to shorten a jacket that had that curve at the bottom. That would be hard, no doubt. But this one being squared off, I don't think is going to be that bad. And the way they did it, I think really makes it nice and easy. So I think I'm going to learn something. Hopefully you learn something too, and we'll figure this out together. But I think, you know what, before I even get into the shortening, I better make sure I can get rid of the squeak. So I'm going to do the conditioning first. But I know that I'm just sort of reaching down and folding up what I think is a good amount. So I'll clip that and I will then get into the conditioning. You don't use pins on leather either, so these clips are perfect. So I can just take a measurement of that before I do my conditioning. So if I can get rid of the squeak, and if I like the way the leather is after I've used the Leather Honey, then I'll leave a link to it in the description box. But if it's not good, I probably won't even end up shortening the jacket, so that means I won't have a video, so that means you won't see this anyway. So I'm just going to make a note that I'm taking 3 inches off the bottom. That will be fine. Okay, so this says 1 treatment lasts 6 months, no oily residue, water repellent, non-toxic. Doesn't really say how to use it, but I've got a clean cloth here. I know it looks kind of old and nasty, but it is clean. I don't really like microfiber because it puts microfibers into our water. So this is just an old cotton cloth. So I might as well try this on the area that I'm going to be cutting off. This leather feels thirsty. I think it's going to take a lot. But it's not changing the color. That's good. And hopefully it just softens it up and gets rid of the squeak. So I'll kind of go at it one panel at a time so I don't lose track of where I've been and where I haven't. I don't want to get it on the lining, but I do want to do the inside of the lapel. That covers the whole thing. And so I'm just going to hang it up to kind of dry and let that sort of soak in. And then I'll try it on again and see if it still squeaks. And I was afraid it was going to take the whole bottle, but really it only took that much. So that's pretty good. And my hands feel incredibly soft now too. Bonus. Okay, so first of all, listen. It's actually amazing, like that squeakiness is 100% gone. The leather is so much softer and more pliable, and it just feels amazing. So that Leather Honey is definitely a winner. I'll definitely leave a link for the Leather Honey in the description because that is like a miracle product. I love that. So I still wasn't even sure if a white leather jacket was really kind of a thing right now or not. But then my husband and I went out for dinner, and at this funky little restaurant that's new in town, this restaurant manager was buzzing around the restaurant just looking cute as a button, wearing a white leather jacket. And she had styled it so cute. I just loved how she was wearing it. So I actually stopped her and asked her if I could take a picture for my video, and she was just the sweetest thing. So doesn't she just look so cute in that white leather jacket? So that made me think, oh yeah, it's a thing. Okay, so if that sounds good to you, then let's get busy shortening this leather jacket. And so I opened up the whole bottom edge. The thread was so thick and hard to pull, so I ended up just snipping my way across like this. And then looking inside, I can see that this edge was sewn down all the way and then folded up. Then the bottom edge of the lining is then stitched down to the leather. This little strip of lining was sewn to the pocket and then sewn to the bottom edge of the leather, just so the pocket doesn't pull out when you take your hand out. At every seam, they snipped into the seam allowance of the leather and pulled a little tab down and sewed that to the hem as well, so that the hem doesn't fall down. So that was very smart. Now, if I am going to be shortening this by 3 inches, that means everything needs to be shortened by 3 inches. And so if my hem is up here, that pocket's going to be too long. So I'll deal with the pocket later. Right now, we're just going to take 3 inches off of everything. And then this is also telling me that that snip is happening right at that 3-inch line too. So that's good to know. Three inches off both facings and 3 inches off the lining. This is my Quilter Select 3-inch ruler from Quality Sewing. There is a link in the description to Quality Sewing, and you can get all of these awesome tools like my cutting mat and this 3-inch ruler. And they have a brilliant selection of sewing machines, including my favorite Baby Lock machine and the Baby Lock sergers, which I love. Scoot along that lining with my rotary cutter. I didn't feel confident enough to cut the leather with my rotary cutter, but that's very nice. I think I will mark 3 inches from the top at each of the seams now, because I did like that little slice into the seam allowance trick. So that slice kind of went through the 3-inch mark like that. So with those, that's what's going to hold up the hem. And so I don't even think I need rubber cement on here, which is good, because if I'm bagging the whole thing, like enclosing that whole hem, I think it would be awkward to sew it and then get back inside to do the rubber cementing. And now I just need to get inside. So inside the jacket sleeves, there's going to be a little secret opening like that. And I just need to open that up. And hopefully it's not also sewn with that really heavy duty thread, but I think it is. Okay, that's better. So yes, even the pocket needs to be 3 inches shorter. And I'm going to save these pieces of lining. I'll sew them back onto the bottom of the pocket. Finally, let's go to the machine. So the regular machine is all set up for leather, and I need to start by closing up these pockets. So I'm just going to do them on the serger. I'll just catch that strip of lining in there. So on the regular sewing machine, this is just my Baby Lock. It's not a special heavy duty machine. I've got a leather needle and a walking foot. And so I've been playing around on the strip that I cut off, and it does do the job. I don't have heavy duty thread in there because I just don't have any. So this is what happened at the beginning. It was skipping stitches. And then you know what? When I increased my speed, it went a lot better. So the only part I'm still worried about is that little top stitch at that front corner. It's just super thick, right? And I've been struggling trying to get that to work. There's a chance I might have to use the semi-industrial machine that I have in my classroom. It's a Juki. I think I can do the first few steps here, but just that ending bit, that's what I'm really worried about. We'll see. So the one thing I really liked about this jacket that I mentioned at the start is how this front facing is sewn on. So this little horizontal seam is actually sewn first, and then it's sewn closed on that front edge. So I think I'm going to be able to do that on the Baby Lock. But that makes such a nice corner, and I think that's going to be great. So these two will be together, and then these edges will come together. And then at some point, this has to get sewn down. And I think can that happen first? Yes. Maybe that has to happen before this horizontal seam. And then this edge has to go in there as well. So there's a lot going on this corner. So I'll do this vertical, and then it's going to all come together like that so that that lining folds over, and then this all happens in one go. I think I got it already, so I think I know what I'm doing. I sewed the lining to the facing down that front vertical line. And now sewing the facing to the jacket along that front edge, the inside line of stitching first. And I think I need to, again, leave that bottom edge free. So I'll start at 1/4 inch, 3/4 of a centimeter up from the bottom of the facing, somewhere in there. And I just want to sew in the original sewing line back up until the original stitching here. Yeah, that's fine. So that original edge is back together. So now if I take this piece of lining and fold it and bring the edge of the lining to the edge of the facing. So now this is the edge that gets sewn to the bottom of the jacket. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I'm making this clear what I'm doing, because this is new to me as well. So all I've done is I've sewn on top of the lining and just left that bottom 1/4 inch or about almost a centimeter free at the bottom of the facing. And then I'm bringing that lining down like this. I'm folding that lining to bring the edge of the lining to the edge of the facing. This is going to be sewn last. So what I can do first is bring those two edges right side together. So the jacket is sort of being turned inside out here, and I can't do the whole thing inside out like this, but I can get started this way. I will have to go through the hole in the lining at some point soon, but I can get the first, probably even foot done here. So I'm bringing those edges together, and of course clips are essential when you're working with leather. It would be torturous to try to pin it, and it would damage the leather. So get yourself a set of clips if you're going to be working with leather. And then you can see this is a seam in the leather, but there's no corresponding seam in the lining. There's a dart here, but even that doesn't line up. But this side seam does. And it's important to keep that lined up just so I know I'm on track. So I'm going to do that whole edge before I go in through the sleeve. Now on this edge, this is also where I want to catch these little pointy tabs that I sliced into the seam allowance. I can set up both ends like that, and then it'll just be the middle that I'll have to get through the opening of the sleeve. So right at this point, I'm not going through the hole in the lining sleeve. I will eventually have to, but I don't need to for the front two corners. I can get all of this fussy stuff done first. So I can go quite a few inches here and then still come back in and finish the middle of this lining to jacket seam. I can finish the middle of it going through that sleeve opening. So now when I get to a seam here, there's no corresponding seam on the lining, so that makes me a little nervous. Oh, and I missed putting this in. I'll have to put that in later. So now if I fold this, this is all new to me. If I fold this and bring that little tab over, that should theoretically work. I'm not trying to say that this is fun, but good. Now I've got 2 corresponding seams, so that makes me feel like I'm on target because they are matching up nicely. Okay, so I think I might just get past this seam, then come in from the other side. So I'm bringing that little tab down again. Yeah, I don't know how it's going. I'm not too sure. So not going great. Skipping a ton of stitches. And I didn't even realize that was happening. Okay, I am going to try it on the Juki in my classroom. Thanks for trying, Baby Lock. I still love you. Okay, so I'm in my classroom and this is the machine that's going to sew this leather for me. So this is the Juki TL2010Q and it's semi-industrial, like it's a lot more powerful. It's really, really fast. Although there is a speed adjustment here. You can go from turtle to rabbit. On rabbit though, it is fast. It's a very basic machine though, like it's not computerized. It doesn't even do a zigzag. All it does is a straight stitch. It does have reverse. This is the reverse button, but it is so handy. Like if you're sewing denim, leather, lots of thick layers like on a hoodie, it's really, really a powerful machine. It's great. So a lot of my students, in fact, my top student only works on this machine. He loves it. It's got the knee control here. So see when I lift with my knee, it lifts the presser foot. So that means you can keep both your hands on your project a lot more. So it's going to be perfect for this. And you know what? Right now at qualitysewing.com, it is on sale for 55% off. So that is such a great deal on this machine. It's a good time to scoop that up. Alrighty, so the Juki is sewing that way better than my Baby Lock. Like it can handle both layers of leather. But right now, all I need to sew is 1 layer of leather to a layer of lining. So let's give that a try. So right now, this is just sort of right side together. So I'm sewing with the lining side up. I think that it'll be easier to have the lining up because it's definitely not stretchy. If you're sewing a stretchy with a not stretchy, have the not stretchy up. Oh, whoops. That's one thing to get used to on this machine is if you relax your heel and let your heel sink back, you're going to cut your thread. Okay, so I'll just do a back tack there. So you can see here how it was skipping stitches at home on my Baby Lock. I do love my Baby Lock, but this is just a job that's a little too heavy duty. And this Juki is having just no trouble over that at all. So now when I get to each of these little cutouts, I want to bring that little tail up and catch it in my seam. There's the next little tail. So I'm coming in from one side and then I'll come in from the other side. And then the gap that's left is what I need to do from the opening in the sleeve. It's nice, right, that I can have both my hands on it and I can lift with my knee. I really do like that. Right, so here that lining comes down and meets the edge so that I've got one smooth line across here. I think I took my clip out a little early. Good, that is nice. So now these little tails that I caught in at each seam are going to keep that hem anchored. It's not going to droop. Just before I pull it right side out, I've got the little opening here. This is just the bottom hem. This is the facing. And so this is just going to sit here now. And I think I'll keep the seam allowance going up for both layers. So I just need to close that back up. So now when I pull that corner out, I'm just using the screwdriver that comes with the machine to just gently poke out that corner. And then I just have to replace that little bit of top stitching. Remember I said at the bottom that was really the only part I was worried about. I'm still a little bit worried about it, but good. So that's reasonably nice and flat. So again, at this side, this is the opposite bottom corner. And I'm just going to come up this one. Seam allowance going up. I don't have to trim. I could, but I don't really have to trim the corner there because it's going square into square. All right, so just before I finish off that top stitch, I'm going to finish off the gap. So this is what's left of the bottom hem, right? The two ends are both done, and so I just have a rather large gap here to take care of. So that's what I need to do going through the opening in the sleeve. Good. So do you remember I opened up that little secret entryway in the sleeve? I'm going to reach into there, travel all the way through the sleeve to the bottom of the jacket until I come out at the bottom there. So then I'm tucking in both edges, right? The seam allowances are tucking in, and I'm grabbing them from the inside. And then I'm going to pull that out through the opening in the sleeve. Good. So a little bit of wrestling, and then I just have to find where I left off when I was sewing it from the outside there. Okay, so I'll start up again there, overlapping where I left off. And my seam is starting to open here. I want to keep that closed and match it up with that corresponding seam. And get that little tail in place there. Don't you love that? Like both hands are still on everything, but my knee can lift that presser foot. Okay, next two seams are together. And here I go. Make sure my edges are together. That's pretty great. So I'm going to pull that all back out through the sleeve. The last thing I'll do before I head back home is just finish off that little top stitch. So everything was going great, and then I did a baddie. And you can't do a baddie with leather and undo it and redo it. Once you've done the baddie, it's there. After I got the hem together and what they call a bagged hem, where the lining comes kind of up around to meet the hem, so it's all enclosed. Super nice. Everything was going great. And then I kind of was in a hurry to go visit my mom, and so I thought, let's just quickly do this top stitch. And that was the part that I had been worried about right from the beginning, is duplicating that top stitch. But on that Juki machine, I thought that if I got the stitch length just right, I'd be able to nail it. And what? No, that was a very bad idea. So yes, I am a little nervous. This is a little scary. I have a feeling that's not going very well. Well, that didn't go great. I kind of missed those holes, and there they are now. That's not so nice. If I was an alterationist, I'd give my customer a discount, but luckily nobody's paying me to do that. It's gonna have to do. So I kind of messed that part up, and you can't unmess it on leather, right? So now I've got like a double row of pinholes, and that's just the way that's going to be. So I will eventually get over that and forgive myself. And you know what? It was really silly of me. I should have at least considered sewing that top stitch by hand, which I know sounds crazy, but it's actually not. And it's sort of ironic that I didn't even think of it, because right now I'm actually working on a hand sewn leather bag, which is in the process. I'm definitely going to share this video with you when I finish it. But this is one of those leather bag kits from Babylon Leather. I'm really, really enjoying it. It's so fun. It's just been a real pleasure to work with leather and sew by hand. So I've been working on this while I was doing the jacket, and yet it never even occurred to me to try it by hand. But this Babylon Leather bag kit, I was trying it out, and if I liked it, I thought I would make the video and share it with you, share a discount code. And I'm not even done, maybe about halfway done, and I love it. I know I'm definitely going to be sharing that code with you because it's just so cool. It's such a pleasure. So I might as well give you a little sneak peek into what I'm making here. I'll give you the link and the code, because I think that making a bag like this for yourself is brilliant. Making one to give away is so nice and generous. But even just buying the kit for somebody that you know is crafty and loves to be busy with their hands, I think that's a fantastic gift. I would be over the moon if somebody gave me one of these kits for Christmas. I think that would be amazing. Okay, so I'll share this video with you when it's done, but in the meantime, you can check out the Babylon website. I'll leave that and my link and my code. The one I'm making is the zip top tote bag, and I think it's going to be wonderful. I'm really excited about showing that to you. So yes, I should have used those hand sewing techniques that I learned with the Babylon kit on my leather jacket. You use 2 needles and it goes quite nicely. And since the pinholes were already there, it would have been, I think, pretty reasonable to do. So I brought it home at that point because I was just sulking and mad at myself. Then I decided to go back into the hem, add in the rubber cement just to try to make that hem look a little bit flatter. I think that did help a lot. And you know what? I'm still going to love the jacket and wear the jacket. Right? Oh my goodness. I actually just fell madly in love with this jacket. Thanks to the inspo to that restaurant manager for some styling advice. But I love this jacket now and I'm totally embracing the 70s vibe. And do you think I'm ever going to look at that double line of pinholes and be bothered? No, I am not. I'm never going to be bothered by that. Or at least I'm not going to let myself be bothered by it because I just think the overall look is so fantastic. I love this. And I think there's a bunch of different ways I'm going to be able to style this jacket. For this look, I've paired it with my flower power tank top, my groovy embroidered flared jeans, but I think there's lots of different ways I'm going to be able to wear this. Here it is with the thrifted silk blouse that I was wearing at the beginning and my Vivaia flats with the cheetah on them. And then this look with the wide leg black pants, the silky red tank top, and my favorite Vivaia shoes, the Regina Pro with the red block heel. I love those boots. I hope you love this, and I hope you've forgiven me for my baddie on that top stitching. And I hope that there were a few good tips along the way for you to make leather a little less intimidating. Definitely the top stitching I was intimidated by, and rightfully so. That just was not my best moment. That's okay because the overall look is great. And don't you think it's a subtle difference, but taking that 3 inches off the jacket really did make a nice difference. I hope you agree that it was worth it, especially since I learned a lot. I learned a ton. I have never seen that kind of finishing on a jacket before, leather or not leather. I've just never seen it finished like that, where the hem comes straight across. That was quite different. I've also never seen those little cuts on the hem of leather sewn right into the hem. That was genius. So I learned a lot there too. And I learned to at least try hand stitching leather, especially when those pinholes are there. It's all set for you. And I really don't think it's that hard to do the hand sewing on leather now that I've got the experience with that Babylon bag. So I hope you had fun with that. And until next time on Catherine Sews, you take care.